Hi, everyone. You are welcome again to our next session. Before I introduce our next speaker, I would like to have to announce one thing here, that we are very privileged that we have a Q&A with Kat Wong. She's a senior editor with Scientific America so we will be having her here at 1 p.m. Sorry, we'll be having Kat Wong at 1 p.m. here. This is a great opportunity, especially for the PhD students. So everyone, make sure that you engage with her. Now, at this point, I would love to introduce our next speaker, who is Abdallah Mohammed. Abdallah is a master's graduate who did his master's in the challenges of archaeological conservation in modern African museums at the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. So welcome, Mr. Abdallah, so that you can start and we can hear your presentation. You're most welcome.
Oh, thank you, Chair. As Mr. Alois has introduced me, I am Abdallah Mohammed, famously known as Dula. I did my master's in conservation of archaeological collections from Oldupai Gorge at the University of Dar es Salaam. And at the moment, I'm doing my PhD at the University of Dar es Salaam for the similar conservation topic. As you can see here, the conservation challenges in African museums, the case of National Museum and House of Culture. This is my topic today. Conservation science in Africa, in African museum is a new discipline. It's a new discipline whereby you can find that heritage resources such as fossil fauna requires knowledge in conservation. Some of these collections are fragile and require extra care because if they are not well conserved, we are going to lose the information that have been in that particular object. As you can see, this bone has been deteriorated with the minerals. It has been mineralized and fossilized to the extent that it is fragile and broken. And for the same case like this one, it has been fragile, which needs extra care. And if we don't have the proper conservation model, proper conservation methodologies, we are going to lose the information that have been carried by this particular object. Look at this other picture here. There is fragment of materials. The bone, this is a scapula of a big animal, but has been fragile during excavation and transportation. Then if we cannot conserve it well, nothing can be known, nothing can be recovered, and we can lose the information. From that point, we have been observing several and various challenges during the day-to-day operations of our museum, specifically in conservation of these objects. One of the challenges is lack of conservation equipment, specifically ICTs and showcases, whereby we are lacking materials. As you can see, we don't have some materials like polyethylene, which can be used to keep our objects not get damaged while they are in museum. Look at the picture that these fauna objects have been put on the mattress, and the mattress are, I can say, naked. They are not covered by anything else. So we are not sure how long this mattress, how mattress can damage the materials. Maybe there are some chemicals that can get into that particular bone and remove its originality, where once you take it to the laboratory and you want to study it, you might lose some information. And for the case of storage, as you can see the other picture here, we we have challenge of these materials. We cannot put material like this, but I mean, there is no enough shelves to keep materials, then it's a bit challenging for our African museums. Also, shortage of conservation expertise as far as Tanzania and some parts of Africa. For my country, we are lacking the universities training for the conservation expertise. As you can see, the University of Dar es Salaam, which is the oldest university in the country, or the rest of the country of the universities, doesn't offer museology study, which can include conservation study, conservation training. We're mostly depending on the experts from different parts of the world who are coming to do their research. And for them, they are the one who are assisting us to do conservation during they are doing, the time when they are doing their conservation, their research. But once they go away, of course, they leave us with some people who have been trained with the conservation, but it's not, we cannot rely on, because they are very little, very few number of the people who are aware on how to conserve these materials. As you can see, the shortage of storage rooms and spacing is continuing to be a problem, as these are objects from Oldupai and other parts of Tanzanian sites, but they have been kept in these shelves, which are full of dust, some of them, and they are congested to the extent that they can scratch one another. These are lithic objects. They can scratch and they can lose their information which they have. Also, another challenge, we have poor management. Most materials lack contextual, they lack contextual information due to improper documentation. This needs ICTs, the same case on ICTs and the digitization of these materials. As you can see here, some of these materials, they have barcode which have been stamped. You can see this one and this one. These have been made by one research team, and they created a database for this part of these materials. But I don't think we need only these parts of materials to be digitized. We need at least, yes. Please.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. However, the screen share that you are currently on, we can only see the start, conservation challenges in African museums. You might have to scroll down on your PDF to go further.
Here?
You're currently sharing a PDF.
Maybe one thing I could say, Dula, I
yes.
think you have your origin PowerPoints, right?
Yes, this is the PDF.
Okay, please show this one, yes.
Okay.
So maybe you have to go where you are right now. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No problem. Yeah, these are the key challenges, and I was in conservation challenges. This one, shortage of expertise, and we have no university which is offering museology. And down here, we have shortage of shelves, which have been spoken already. And here we have poor management of these materials. Most of them lack contextual information due to improper documentation that needs ICTs. You can look here on these Acheulean handouts, has no any contextual information, which means it loses its authenticity. You cannot use it for anything. It's just maybe you can use it for training, for teaching people, but you don't know where is it coming from. Nothing is known. And also, I'm going for recommendation and way forward. We really require or needs training in museology, and students from different schools, secondary schools, should be visiting museums frequently as they are upcoming conservators. I would also recommend economic hardship, which have been triggered in our countries. We are mostly depending on foreign aids for conservation equipments and facilities, which including renovation of storage rooms, and also funding for museums in many countries is declining. Lack of funds is a problem in African countries, particularly in my country, where by lacking funds, we don't have training, we don't have facilities and all those stuff. Also, the COVID pandemic affects the museum because as far as museums is a public place where different people have to visit the museum to learn, to see materials, and to know what the culture are being kept. Then now we cannot visit the museum. Also, I'm recommending post-COVID-19, more public engagement should be in conservation, should be involved. Outreach programs, international projects and collaborations should be done so that we can do more better ways to do, concerning conservation. Okay, thank you for listening. Asanteni sana. This is the end of my presentation.
All right, thank you so much, Dula. We do have a few questions from the attendees. So starting off with this one. Should part of the budget that foreign expeditions get to excavate in Tanzania be dedicated to collections and data management as well as conservation? What do you think?
Of course, I think that's the right way we can do about this, because conservation is starting from the excavation. We excavate, for example, the materials that have been studied during my master's studies, they have been excavated by leakies during 1940s to 1960s. Then they have been shifted from Oldupai to Kenya National Museum, then from Kenya National Museum to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania National Museum. So if these researchers are coming with some budgets for conservation, that will be very, very nice thing. Thank you.
We have another one. Do we have a sense of what part of the collections have been mishandled and lost provenance?
Of course, there are plenty of them. We have plenty of them because I study myself. And imagine, I only did collections from leakies. I didn't do other collections. We have different sites in Tanzania. We have Mumba collections. We have Kondoa Irangi collections. We have collections from Iringa and different parts of the sites. But this is only for Oldupai Gorge, and the only leakies collections. You can imagine there are several researchers since 1930s have been conducting research in Oldupai. So I only tackled leakies collections, and this is what I found. Thank you.
All right, sorry, I think I had a little bit of an internet freeze there. Next question. We have time for, actually we actually have a lot of time. So if you're okay with it, Dula, I will just keep posting questions. Where in East Africa can you get training in conservation science?
Of course, at the moment, it's Nairobi. Nairobi is the place where they are training this course.
And is it only Nairobi?
Of course, so far it's Nairobi. No, Uganda, they are not doing that. It's only Nairobi, which is Kenya.
I see. Next question. This one might be from someone who knows you because they're referring to you directly. Dula, why do you think foreign scholars have been so negligent in training Africans in museum studies?
From my perception, I think it's the policy, maybe. It's a bit of policy issues and political issues, maybe, I don't know. But that's my observation. It might be the policy issue. Because if there is a nice policy which have been formulated that researchers should train some people who are doing research with, then once they go back home, they leave the people, the indigenous, to take care of the objects that they have been excavated. I think that's the right thing.
Mm. And onto that, what should be done with materials that have lost their provenance? Are they worth keeping, do you think?
I think they are. They can be used for teaching purpose. They can be used for teaching purpose. Not you don't know where they are coming from, but if it's a hand axe, you can train a student that this is a hand axe, but it doesn't have information where it's coming from.
And next one. Is there any collaboration between the East African countries in terms of supporting conservation work?
So far, I have no idea. Yeah.
Maybe we should have that question for the ambassador and some of the other that we had on yesterday.
Okay.
But we still have a couple of more here. We have time for a few more, so let's see if we can get through them. Let's see. The next one here. What are your thoughts on the COVID-19 times and the fact that museums were no longer visited? What is the state of going online with conservation in Tanzania?
Of course, doing online conservation is a bit tricky because, as I mentioned before, that we are lacking ICT's facilities, ICT and technology. Then, as before, even COVID-19, conservation is tricky itself. Then how can we do now with this under these conditions? It is more difficult than previous days.
All right. And then the last question. Roughly, what is the budget that the Department of Antiquity offer to museums per year? Are there any other sources of funding?
To be honest, I don't know. I think that question could be very nice to ask Mr. Bugumba, who presented yesterday, who is a senior in that particular area. Thank you.
Of course, I understand. Thank you so much for all your questions, or for all your answers, rather. And thank you to Alois for chairing. And I think that will conclude this Q&A segment a little earlier than the time allows. But thank you again so much for presenting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Dula. This was nice. I hope we'll see you in other people's sessions, right?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.